Welcome to Spike Week. I'm Erik Beimfohr, and on today's show, it's the final preseason training camp news show of the year. We're getting into all the most relevant news and notes from around the fantasy football sphere. Terry McLaurin is good to go. He is signed with Washington. Jakobi Meyers, not so good to go. Once out of Las Vegas, Adam Thielen was traded. Rashee has accepted his suspension, and all sorts of news over the course of the last week we're going to get into today. We're going to pop into a draft over on our good friends Drafters, and we're going to give away some free tickets to Drafters before we head into week one next week. Let's do it. Good morning. Good morning. It is officially football season. We got a college football slate last night, a college football slate tonight, a loaded, jam-packed college football slate of games on Saturday. We're definitely officially back, and we are still officially here in the news cycle of the NFL/fantasy football world. On your way in, if you could smash that like button, it would be outstanding. If you have not subscribed to the channel yet, just because the season starts next week, we're not going anywhere. We're going to be bringing you DFS breakdowns, sports betting breakdowns. We're going to do some battle royale drafts every week. And of course, we're still going to be talking best ball. We're going to be talking about the fallout from every single week, our expectations for players after we start to get some of these games and some of these results, looking at some of our teams, diagnosing some of the terrible takes that we assuredly had over the course of the summer. We don't stop once the season gets here. We're going to keep it on rolling. We're also going to keep it on rolling today for the final day of a Drafters free ticket giveaway. If you've been commenting on the shows over the course of the last month or so, I really, really appreciate you. It has been an absolute ton of fun. This will be the last chance to win free tickets. I've pulled everybody's name in. It's over. I apologize. No more entries allowed. Insurance. No more bets, whatever casino analogy we would like to use. We'll be giving away at the end of the show. We're going to go through team by team, situation by situation, and break down what's been going on in training camp. Of course, we just had cut day on Tuesday. We've talked a little bit about that on the shows this week, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, but some things that we missed, some things that we didn't get to discuss at length. And we'll talk about all of that. Then we will pop into a draft over on Drafters because they are going to have a multi-million-dollar tournament essentially that overlays like crazy. I'm not sure exactly how many entries we're even going to get into it. The Drafters main event, as of this morning, it by next Thursday, at what time do they officially close? 6:45 p.m. Central Time, so 7:45 p.m. Eastern next Thursday. So before the game starts on Thursday, they need to reach 140,004 entries to fill the Drafters main event. As of right now, this morning, less than a week out, 88,381 entries. $500,000 to first place. It's a $20 entry. It is probably going to be the best tournament to enter down the home stretch here of best ball season. It is also total points and cumulative scoring. So the news and notes that we're going to get to here in 2 seconds are particularly relevant there because we can probably be drafting some new guys that we weren't drafting all summer. We really know who to target in the late rounds, who's made the team, who's been cut, who's looking like they're going to be a week one factor versus maybe a more of a dynasty style or late season bet. We have all that information. No better place to draft it than in total points on Drafters. Let's hit some questions and then this is shout out Massive Audio, dude. Keep the questions coming, but this did make me chuckle. Who are you taking from the Bears backfield? We will get to it. There's actually some interesting quotes on the Bears situation, but I continue to lean to DeAndre Swift and Kyle Monangai, and I have been given no evidence by the Bears, no evidence by injuries, no evidence by preseason or training camp usage to change my stance on DeAndre Swift and Kyle Monangai over a Roschon Johnson in the Bears backfield. Kendrick, what a best ball journey it's been this summer. Good luck to everyone. Thank you, Erik, for putting in the work for the great content. Appreciate you. Thank you guys for being here. Thank you guys for commenting on the videos. Thank you guys for liking the videos. Thank you guys for hopping in the drafts with me and taking all the players that I really want to draft and making me draft the Darren Wallers of the world, who I hate. Shout out to you guys for that. GM Versaire, good morning for best ball. What round do you take Rodriguez? That's a good question. A little bit ahead of where his ADP goes. I think he's a really good pick. He'll come up today on today's show as well. All right, let's get into the news and notes so that we can do what we're really excited for and draft some teams down the home stretch here. All right, let's start with we'll go team by team, of course, but it's a little bit quicker. Some teams it's not so quick, but it's a little bit quicker this week than it has been in the last several weeks of the season, because we had cut day, which was like something, but in general we've kind of been up to speed on the injury, who's hurt, their timeline to return, who's practicing, who isn't practicing, depth chart standings, and all that kind of stuff. We've been really tracking that very, very closely, particularly on this show, but on the Tuesday shows as well for the last month or so. So we'll be able to go a little bit more rapid fire through the teams. We shall see if I can actually be brief. You guys know me, but let's start with the trade block. Was the most notable thing of this most recent week. Of course, the Adam Thielen, much rumored trade back to the Minnesota Vikings does happen. We will talk about this when we get down to Minnesota, but I found it incredibly likely as soon as on cut day, the Vikings cut Lucky Jackson, which I know sounds absurd, right? This is so leading off with the Adam Thielen, Lucky Jackson is hilarious. However, there's like a lot of fallout and a lot of moving pieces when as it relates to Adam Thielen leaving Carolina. And again, we will talk about some of that. You can probably see on your screen if you're watching on YouTube under the Carolina Panthers section. You see that it says Jalen Coker will play in the slot. They've confirmed that. The coaching staff and everyone around the Panthers have confirmed in the 3 wide receiver sets. It will be Tetaroa McMillan, Xavier Legette, Jalen Coker in the middle. Jatavian Sanders as certainly the pass catching tight end at a minimum, if not just the full-time tight end. They will use the Tommy Trembles and such, but nonetheless, Adam Thielen leaving opens up a ton of opportunity for, obviously, T-Mac. It's kind of already been assumed that he's the leader in that wide receiver room in that entire passing game. He's a 4th round pick in fantasy. I think it's a really good price still on him, but I'm not sure that this changes a significant amount for Tetaroa McMillan, but it obviously does change a ton for Xavier Legette, Jalen Coker, and to a lesser extent, Jatavian Sanders, where we are, and Hack has been the 100 receptions leaving Carolina, wheels up, which is definitely a true, also a funny bit, because 100 catches are probably coming in Tetaroa McMillan. But nonetheless, there's clearly like a huge pathway to opportunity and to show is Xavier Legette really the 1st round pick that the Carolina Panthers invested into him last season? Is Jalen Coker really worth all the kind of hype and the trading away of Adam Thielen to give Coker the full runway to play here? I think these guys are all just smash picks. At all the Panthers in the passing game, at least, are just like smash picks, particularly from a best ball perspective. But I think all the receivers are good, like dynasty holds. I think you can put them on the end of the bench and see what kind of plays out over the course of the season. Is Jalen Coker really this good? Like I said, does Xavier Legette have a 2nd-year leap in him? I just think all those guys are really key targets. And while I'm done with my BBM drafts and my DK Millie drafts, and I probably don't have enough of either of those players on drafters here down the home stretch, where I do think they're great picks in all formats of best ball, but being now having this information, not really worrying too much about where those guys go, whether they go at 175 or you take them at 140. Like, I don't really think it matters on drafters. I'm going to get some later guys that the people who, those people got Jalen Coker at pick 200. Like, congrats. They took Joe Mixon in the 6th round or whatever. Obviously that's just one example, but you get the point. The Panthers are a priority target to me, and I'm going to be taking them a ton on drafters here down the home stretch. in terms of the Viking side of the trade, it just not a lot. Adam Thielen, like theoretically in the weeks 1 to 4 contest, right? The first quarter contest that is on Underdog is interesting there. But the Vikings, shout out to Hacker, has been posting, and we've discussed this a little bit in that tournament, that the Vikings kind of have like a gross-ish schedule. They're going to be without Addison and Jalen Naylor during that time. Sure, Adam Thielen steps in. They play the Pittsburgh Steelers in the finals, right? The week 17 of the weeks 1 to 4 contest, aka week 4 game. They play the Steelers in Ireland. It's just not great. It's not that field is pretty terrible for football. Aaron Rodgers and Steelers games are going to be terrible for football. The Vikings do play, it is a good defense with the Steelers. I'm not getting super into Adam Thielen for a couple of weeks. Addison will be back in that game, by the way, in week 4. Anyway, Thielen is like fine I think it was a good move for the Vikings from a real life football perspective, but from a fantasy sense, I don't think it really changes anything. Addison will be back. Naylor will be back. And it's still the JJ Hawkinson show there. Let's see here. Let's finish this. And then before we go team by team, I'll hit some of the you guys questions. I see you, Brandon. I see, etc. in the chat. Micah Parsons, obviously from a real life football perspective, the biggest trade, one of the bigger trades that we've seen in recent NFL history. Micah Parsons to the Packers for 2 first-round picks and what's his name? Defensive lineman from the Packers, who they called a frontline player, which is really hilarious. He had 1 sack last year. I'm not sure that I would classify him as a frontline player. The deal was made for the 2 first-round picks. Just quickly, because I can't help myself but be, deep in the actual, ball knowing, if you will, weeds. I think it was a good trade for the Cowboys. Micah Parsons, unfortunately, is going to cost them an absolute boatload. And you would love to, as a fan, I would get, right, like I just want the really good players to stay on my team. I don't care. He's in his prime. He's 26. Like, who cares? Give him a big contract for forever. The unfortunate part for the Cowboys is they're nowhere near a Super Bowl. Absolutely nowhere near a Super Bowl. It's unfortunate, but I think it was actually like a small. Now I'm not going to give them, the Cowboys, any credit at all ever for, like, they've made a lot of mistakes that led them to this point. It probably should have never happened. However, once we've gotten here, I don't think that trading him was like a bad decision. It feels bad. It looks bad. That's for sure. But like, I'm not sure if you guys have seen this Cowboys defense. It was going to be bad with Micah Parsons, like really bad. They are an exceptionally top-heavy Dak Prescott, CeeDee Lamb, George Pickens, and Micah Parsons entire roster. They're not beating the Eagles. They're not beating the Lions. They're not beating the Commanders. They may not beat the fucking Giants this year. Like, they're just not that good. It's a really fun fantasy offense. So that's the real takeaway here, is that we talked about just yesterday and have talked a ton about the Cincinnati Bengals being the Coors Field of DFS or fantasy football, because they have the worst defense in the league and they have a pass-heavy, high-scoring offense that can push you as an opponent to score yourself. And you're going to be able to, because the defense is made of paper mache. On the flip side, we have the Dallas Cowboys, who now have a defense very, very similar, if not the same, worse, possibly, than the Cincinnati Bengals. I'm not sure that's possible. Two bad defenses, whatever. They're both horrible. So they also have Dak Prescott, CeeDee Lamb, George Pickens, right? Jake Ferguson, to push teams, because that group's going to be able to score some points. And so the Cowboys are like a sneaky, really, really awesome spot. We talked about the week 1 to 4 contest, but Cowboys are going to have to score a lot to try to mask over their defense. And we'll see how the season goes. I'm not bullish. I bet against the Cowboys in week 1 quite large with the Philadelphia Eagles. Hopefully you got down on that early because you're not going to be able to get, I don't know what the number is as of this morning, but they were a touchdown favorite. Honestly, you can still bet it. They're going to beat the bricks off of the Cowboys. The Eagles are on opening night, but great for Cowboys passing games. Maybe not as good for the Packers stacks. Obviously, they are going to have a pretty good defense, and adding one of the best defensive players on planet Earth is certainly going to help their defense. They are still a bit lacking in the secondary, but I mean, the Packers are all in to win. That is for sure. And we'll get to them with Jayden Reed and everything a little bit later. A much smaller trade, right? But a 3 trades and a please trade so far this week already. Tim Patrick to the Jacksonville Jaguars. Not a huge deal. I understand people are, oh no, what does this mean? De'Ami Brown, is he benched? Like, no. Tim Patrick was going to get cut, and the Jacksonville Jaguars depth wide receivers were Austin Trammell, Josh Cephas. They're like creative players. They're not real life players. They were really top heavy at the wide receiver position. Brian Thomas Jr., Travis Hunter, De'Ami Brown, and Parker Washington. They basically had 4 NFL wide receivers. And the problem, as we've already seen this summer, is one of those top 4 also plays defense. And so if Travis Hunter is going to be subjecting himself to defense, maybe there's some weeks he just can't play as much offense. There's just a certain level of risk, right? Having a thin wide receiver room and one of them also plays defense. So it's just good business. They're trying to make the playoffs, to bring in a trustworthy veteran like a Tim Patrick for nothing. Essentially, they're upgrading their wide receiver, 5 and 6 here. Can Tim Patrick like steal a couple routes? Sure, anything is possible. He hasn't been with Jacksonville. I'm not expecting much from him. Certainly not to start the season. But I do get. Thank you. It was Kenny Clark in the trade. Like people have asked, like, what does this do for the Jaguars? Like nothing. Probably good for Trevor Lawrence, if anything, but nothing notable to the wide receivers. Jakobi Meyers, hilariously, this is also somehow going to be short. We could talk longer about the Tim Patrick trade than about the Jakobi Meyers trade request, because it was like he sent the text message and he never even got the dots like that the Raiders were typing back. You know what I mean? They were just like, okay. He's like, I'd trade me, please, because you're not going to, he's on the last year of his deal. He wants a contract extension. So he requests a trade. And they're just like, all right, see ya. They did say, we'll talk about, they signed Amari Cooper. The Raiders did. They came out and said it was just total coincidence. They were going to sign Amari, whether or not Jakobi requested a trade. But like, it was like everyone, there's a bunch of trade requests, right? This year, Terry McLaurin, Juwan Jennings, whatever. And generally they're much ado about nothing, except for Micah Parsons. And but usually we still talk about it, that there's a bunch of reports about it. This team's interested. The Jakobi Meyers thing was just like, oh yeah, Jakobi Meyers requested a trade. Okay, let's get back to the relevant stuff, the important news. It was just wild. I don't think he's going to get traded. I also don't think he's going to get a contract extension from the Raiders. So but we'll see. We'll see what. No real updates on the Jakobi Meyers. I'm telling you, it was like the news broke and then everyone forgot that it happened, including the Raiders front office and the reporters from the Raiders. Not sure it's the optimal outcome for the whole Rashee Rice situation, but just to quickly hit on that one before we get to team by team. 6-game suspension to start the year, weeks 1 to 6 for Rashee Rice. What a roller coaster that has been. I really don't even feel like talking. We've talked about Rashee Rice every week, usually multiple times over. Then it's been and it just a truly insane roller coaster. 1 week he's not getting suspended. The next he's getting 10 games. The next it's not going to be this year. The next it's going to start in week 5. It's all over the fucking place with Rashee Rice. It's final. It's decided. We don't have to talk about it anymore. He's out for the first 6 weeks. I actually think that makes him a pretty good click. Drafters where we'll, cumulative scoring. It's not as exciting of a click for me there, but I'm pretty darn intrigued by him in some of the playoff formats because I think we can figure out a way to bide our time without a 6th round wide receiver for 6 weeks. And then you're getting potentially a star in, a 2nd round value of a pick available back to you in week 7. And then obviously the playoffs are really the most important thing. Can you build a team now knowing when he's out that can navigate those 6 weeks? I think so. Let's see. All right, let's catch up on the chat. We got to do the Darren Waller question. Is Darren Waller 100% zero for best ball this year? I got some shares when he first signed and felt bad about it ever since. Yeah, notably, for anyone that missed it on Monday night, I did DraftKings $555. They have their monster millionaire $1 million to first place, again, $555 entry for the draft, and was building an awesome team, and then was just talking to the chat. Didn't have my queue ready, didn't have everything ready, and got over, and all the guys that I just assumed would be there were gone, and I accidentally clicked Darren Waller. So for the sake of that $500, I'm hoping Darren Waller is not a zero, though I think he's mostly going to be a zero. They've been like, this is also in the Dolphin section, but they've been, they talk about Darren Waller. This is a bad comp for any NBA fans. They talk about him like, you know how Joel Embiid has been hurt like every year of his career, and they constantly talk about like he's ramping up. Like Joel Embiid is ramping, right? He'll be back in a couple of months. He's starting his ramp up process. We want to be cautious with him. We want to make sure he's healthy when he comes back. With blah 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 blah. Like that's exactly how they talk about Darren Waller. Is like, he hasn't played in a while. You know, we want to make sure he gets fully up to speed. We're taking it day by day. You know, blah, blah, blah. Like, we're working up to week one. We're building up. We're building up. How much is he going to, you know, they'll even be like, how much is he going to play in week one? I can't say for sure. It's like, all of this just reeks of like, is this really worth a click? Like, seriously, like the game doesn't match the name anymore with Darren Waller is my sort of take. If I'm wrong about that and Darren Waller is a smash, as you guys know, I will wave the white flag and accept that L. It is what it is. But just reading all of these tea leaves, I don't know how we can come up with anything other than a guy who's in his 30s, retired to become a hip hop artist, and came back and he's out of shape and like has gotten no real positive vibes around him all summer. He's barely practicing right now. He can't even like they were talking about he couldn't practice on back-to-back days to start. So, you know, forgive me. Like, there's one thing to like, okay, is he going to like be playing? You have to think about, not only do you need to go out and be productive in an NFL football game, you need to score fantasy points in a way that's meaningful, not just like score some fantasy points. To be worth a click, we want you to be scoring fantasy points in a certain, like at a certain level that's like really, really helping our best ball teams. Because I'm also going to have other guys. I can, if I just want fantasy points, I can draft fucking Theo Johnson or Jawan Johnson or Jatavian Sanders or Harold Fannin to take a click, right? Tyler Higbee's going to be out there running routes as well for the Los Angeles Rams. Like, there's a never ending list of guys that we can get that, like, if you just want a guy who's out there on the field, maybe scoring some points, but what we want is the difference makers. And like, you have to forgive me if I don't think that Darren Waller can be a difference maker at this point. So that is my thought there. Darren Waller is free on drafters. That is true. Yeah, how do you get a red badge on Underdog? It's a certain amount of drafts. I don't remember how much it is. I think this is correct. Number of drafts, 500, 1,000, something like that. It's probably somewhere. If you Google it, I guess. These are the things that you would think, talking about this silly game that we play for 5 years now, I would like just know those things. I can remember like random coach quotes from earlier in the summer. I can remember like what was a play call when I was 21 years old or whatever, but I can't remember how many drafts it takes to get a red badge on Underdog. That seems bad. Is it crazy to take Gibbs over Jamar in a full PPR 14 team, 1 QB, 2? No, definitely not. I think they're both awesome picks. They're both in my top 3 alongside CeeDee Lamb. Do you bump Dallas passing game with pieces with Micah gone? Yep. Yeppers. Yes, you do. Not that CeeDee needs or can even get a bump. Like, I have had CeeDee since the very first time I released the rankings as the 102. Jamar Chase, CeeDee Lamb. I've tweaked some little things there after of just finally ripping off the Band-Aid and the condom and putting Jahmyr Gibbs 103. But anyway, you know, I'm not sure CeeDee can go any higher. I'm not sure there is a bump that you can get. But obviously great for Pickens, great for Jake Ferguson. I don't forget about Jake Ferguson. Don't forget about last round Kevontae Turpin. Honestly. Kevontae Turpin is one of the best, if not the best, kick returner in the league. Here's an insane, like, he's going to get more kick returns because they're going to give up more points. So Kevontae Turpin going to touch the ball just a few more times this year, because every time the other team scores, he gets to return a kick. So there you go. There's some deep cut for you. There will be teams that took Henderson instead of Mixon and got cheap Coker for sure. But so every time people make this argument, and there's obviously validity to having gotten Jalen Coker in the 20th round. But if it were so easy to find the right, so first of all, nobody takes that many teams. There's not that many teams drafted, and only 8% of them have Jalen Coker. So out of all those teams, because all the times we talk about, oh, well, they got really good value on this guy. There's also been a ton of fallers. We always ignore that part of it. I'm not saying that you're doing that, Braun. I'm just saying every time we have this conversation where you're like, it doesn't really matter, like pull Jalen Coker up. People are like, well, someone got him at pick 200 and they got other good values. It's like, go look at the teams. Go look. You can physically go look. We have it called Tournament DB. You can go into drafters. You can go look, search Jalen Coker and look at all the Jalen Coker teams. And the overwhelming majority are not teams that you're scared of. And it also requires Jalen Coker to not only be good, for this to matter. It not only requires Jalen Coker to be good, but to be awesome, right? If he's just good, like who gives a fuck? Like other guys are going to be good. Other 20th round picks are going, like Malik Washington's going to score fantasy points. Tyquan Thornton's going to score fantasy points. Like if Jalen Coker is just like giving you useful games, who cares? If he's a guy you need, you just want him on teams, you'll figure out how to make it work. Because I can draft the Tyquan Thorntons, the Malik Washingtons, the Harold Fannons, the whatever that those teams just weren't even considering earlier. Like, yeah, they got a better value on Travion Henderson, but they had to avoid a lot of landmines because it's not just risers. We don't get to only say, well, they clearly got all the risers. Because if that were true, we would all draft all of our teams by like. I would be done on drafters. If it was so easy to just get all the risers, then I'd be like, well, clearly I should have just taken Jalen Coker and Travion Henderson and Emeka Ibuka and Ricky Pearsall and faded Trey Harris and Joe Mixon and Jayden Reed. And should I have drafted Darnell Mooney? No, because he fell, but now he's back practicing. So who cares? It's like there's so many nuances to it, and you have advantages now that you didn't have back then. And so long as you're using those advantages to your advantage, dare I say, it's totally fine to go get guys. But I agree with the general thesis. There will be good teams with Jalen Coker out there for sure. Do you think Dontavian Wicks might have some life with Jayden Reed's foot issues? Not really, but it's possible. It's technically possible. I just we'll get to Jayden Reed. We'll get to Jayden Reed in a minute. He's a whole conversation. Let's see, a lot of Wicks stuff. So the interesting thing about Jayden Reed is like he's practicing. I understand we're all playing doctor and we hear Jones fracture and everybody panics. But the words out of Packers camp, he says after he says we'll do it in a second, just the foreshadowing is he's practicing. So like, I don't know. I don't think we should immediately panic is my general point. Don't call that hip hop. Yeah. A real sneaky take is if Dontavian Wicks is just Dontavian Wicks, I think we should maybe draft the really good football players. That's my general take. Cardinal section is always blank, says Charles. So let's lead into it. We'll go team by team, of course, alphabetical order, starting with the Arizona Cardinals. And the Cardinals section is always blank because they don't give us any goddamn information and they don't play their guys in the preseason. So luckily, also, no one's really gotten hurt for Arizona. Like straight up, nobody's really gotten hurt. They don't play anyone in the preseason. Kind of everything that we knew about them. Some really nice Trey Benson hype and Zay Jones as a starting wide receiver. Outside of that, like just status quo for the Arizona Cardinals. So Charles asks, as a Cardinals fan, prediction for the season. I think some 8-8 shit. 8-8, 9 or well, what 8-9, 9-8. 8-10, whatever. How many games do we play? 17. 8-10 would be impressive. I guess that would be losing in the first round of the playoffs, but making it with a losing record, which is, I guess, is technically possible in that division. I think the division's pretty bad because I don't think the 49ers are that good. I don't think I think the Rams are good. I think the Rams are worrisome given the Matthew Stafford stuff and just the overall fragility of the roster. And while I like the Seahawks, that's not some juggernaut of a team. So the Cardinals could absolutely make the playoffs, but I would be expecting somewhere around 500, I think, from that team. Kelsey Plum definitely knew that his vibes were off. Call it Midwest hip hop. Absolutely not. Tyreek and Waller in Miami could be a sitcom with Mike McDaniel and Tyreek and Darren Waller. My God, I'd watch that. I would watch that sitcom for sure. My Dolphins are going to be so bad this year that Waller might end up with dump off PPR value. The problem is he's not the dump off guy. That's it, right? So people, I know you're not saying this, but people have made the well, Jonnu, remember Jonnu? It's like Jonnu is stylistically like the complete and utter opposite player of Darren Waller. Darren Waller's like the big bodied, like work the middle of the field, use your size, right? Contested catches, get open, again, because he's big and athletic, was athletic. Jonnu was like, we don't have an offensive line to protect Tua, and he can't throw the ball downfield, and the defense is taking away Tyreek and Waddle down the field. So let's get the ball to a guy who can catch it and run, right? Yak is the key thing there. Jonnu is a yak god for all of his flaws, he's an imperfect player, not a very good blocker, all that kind of stuff. He is a yak god. And that is a great fit in this offense. You know who else is a yak god, who's a starting receiver now, not tight end, on the Miami Dolphins? Malik Washington. It's the thing he does best. Also pretty good, Devon Achane, right? So, if they're going to be so bad, I've been taking some Malik Washington because in my opinion, he's the winner of that, if that is to happen. So the problem will be if Mike McDaniel gets fired, what the hell do they do? Do they change the offense? Does that stuff go away? I don't really think they can. I think they've made their bed with this roster. But anyway, is what it is. Yeah, always nothing going on in Arizona. It's crazy. I even this morning spent extra time trying to be like, is there anything I can put down here? And I'm just like, what am I supposed to put down? I've talked about Zay Jones and Trey Benson enough this year. There's just nothing to talk about. How high will you take Ibuka? I have him around pick 50, early 50s. I think that is fine. Let's see. This is the year that the Dolphins should have been on Hard Knocks. Ain't that the damn truth? That is for sure. No chance McDaniels makes it through this year. I don't think so either. Percentage chance Jags move a running back. I mean, it has to be non-zero, but there hasn't been a peep out of Jacksonville about it. And all they continue to do is talk about how excited they are about all four guys. Of course, the fourth being LaQuint Allen, Travis Etienne, Tank Bigsby, Bashal Tootin, and LaQuint Allen. They continue to just I think they're trying to win. And I don't think that they care. I don't know. That's my general take. It's a low percentage chance, though non-zero for the Jaguars. All right. Mostly caught up. We'll talk about the Cowboys in a little bit. I see the Cowboys comments. Atlanta Falcons, very notable. Two things. One, we'll start with the good news. It's a happy Friday. Start with the good. Yeah. Just quickly. Yes. That's what I should have just put. Let's do that real quick. Oh my God. We screwed this up. Trey good God. McBride, you idiots. Okay. There we go. There's the Arizona news. Happy? He's my highest owned tight end. Maybe Fannin. But anyway, nonetheless, Atlanta Falcons. Good news first. Happy Friday. Darnell Mooney returns to practice. That's pretty sweet. All of the, we hope to get him back this year stuff, not so great. Is he ready to go? Whatever. He had it was a shoulder injury, so generally, right, logic would say he should have been able to keep his cardio up a little bit better. Now, how bad you can't run if it's really, really painful, but you can get in the pool and do some different stuff. Theoretically, he should be a little bit more likely than someone who really needs, right, than like Najee, who hasn't even been running for the last couple of weeks. Theoretically, that doesn't mean he'll be ready for week 1, but he's got a week and a half to get ready to go. Darnell Mooney does. So I'm pretty optimistic. I've been definitely drafting him over the course since we got that news. I was buying some of the dip, but being very scared every time I made the click. I feel much better about it. However, the problem with Darnell Mooney and any Falcons, huge blow to their offensive line. Right tackle Caleb McGarry. We talked about him. I think it was on Tuesday. We talked about it. Got injured, and they mentioned that it was serious. We figured it was like serious, like that he was going to go on IR, but was he going to be potentially designated to return? No, they've ruled Caleb McGarry, right tackle, which is the equivalent right to their left tackle because Michael Penix is left-handed, out for the season. So just never good to lose, your most important / best offensive lineman before the season starts. So it's not over for the Atlanta Falcons, right? The Minnesota Vikings lost Christian Darrisaw early in the year last year, and we're still an awesome fantasy offense. That it doesn't mean it's over for the Falcons, but it definitely doesn't. It definitely doesn't hurt, or it doesn't help. Excuse me. It does hurt. It doesn't help. Yeah, the good news for Arizona, they notably play that in Coors Field against the Cincinnati Bengals in Week 17. Baltimore Ravens. We all pretty much expected this, but just for anybody that may have been concerned, worried, Isaiah Likely not on injured reserve. The roster looks about like what you would expect the final 53 for the Ravens. Though our boy Rashee Ali did make the team. So Ali and what was interesting that Ali and Keaton Mitchell are supposed to split kick return duties or be the two kick returners. I thought that was notable because that would obviously mean that Rasheen Ali is also going to be active on game days. I think he's a core special teamer. Rasheen Ali is for the Ravens. So it's totally irrelevant to us fantasy football circles, but he did make the team, and I've long liked Rasheen Ali as a prospect and a football player. So you get to hear, it's my show. You get to hear about my guys. Buffalo Bills, another very notable one. Mr. High ankle sprain, Khalil Shakir, returned to practice. I don't know what kind of wizardry they got going on out there in Buffalo, or specifically what kind of wizardry Khalil Shakir has going on, that high ankle sprains are just like not a big deal to him. But he came back to practice 2 days ago, I believe, maybe something like that. They have not said for sure if he'll be ready for week 1. He is still working his way back. He obviously is one of the conditioning type things, though I imagine they're going to want him back because they play the Baltimore Ravens in week 1. But either way, if you've been buying the Mooney and the Shakir dips, their health at least look to be on the right track, and you should be happy, about both of those guys. Carolina Panthers, as we talked about, don't need to elaborate on this one too much more, but if you just joined, of course, Adam Thielen traded to the Minnesota Vikings, and the Panthers have confirmed when they play 3 wide receiver sets, Jalen Coker will be in the slot. I think that makes Jalen Coker just a tiny tick more appealing than Xavier Legette, but I really want to have both. I think Coker, so far, the resume that we have at the NFL level is Coker showing to be a little bit better than Xavier Legette. That doesn't mean that will continue to be the case. Xavier Legette was a first-round pick. He's extremely talented as an athlete. We'll see. I'm drafting these guys. I'm drafting Jalen Coker. I'm drafting Xavier Legette. I don't really care about the ADP stuff. We talked about that and how you can offset the fact that you're not going to get the same ADP value on the Cokers of the world. But I think these are the kind of guys that we wait for. Why do we have teams still to draft heading into week 1? These are the kinds of situations you wait for. So if we're going to wait for these situations, we have to then act on them, right? And if we just wait ho-hum, we wait for to get to ADP, then you're not going to get them, and you're not acting on them. Someone else is going to. So I'm acting on the Carolina Panthers. All right, couple of couple of notes. Yeah, RIP to the Ray McLeod hype, August 1 to August 29. Ray McLeod also got hurt himself. I believe he's back in practice, but he got banged up himself. Cody says 3D UDFA has made the Ravens pretty cool. Yeah, the Ravens are, well, aside from the Justin Tucker stuff, the Ravens have been a really fun organization to follow for a while now. They always have some fun little quirks like that. And for a really good team to keep finding these under the radar gems is wild. Absolutely wild. The Cokeheads are in the chat. The Cokeheads have entered the conversation. Somebody asked about the Chicago Bears running back room earlier, and I'm trying to, sorry, I should have had this pulled up, but there were quotes from the coaches that I'm going to read. First of all, Travis Homer, the RB4 in Chicago, went on short-term IR, so he is not something that we have to concern ourselves with. Not that we were anyway, but does remove him. The quote from, I just want to make sure I get it right, whether it was from GM Ryan Poles, says, I feel good about Kyle Monangai and Roschon Johnson's return. Was that him or was that Ben Johnson? That was Poles. So Ryan Poles is saying he feels really good about Monangai and Roschon's return. What does that mean? But I just want to read it to you because then you can take the quote however you want as opposed to my personal spin on it. But then I will give my spin at the very end. I feel good about Kyle Monangai and Roschon's timelines to return. Kyle's coming along. Like I said, over the next few days, you'll probably see the practice field look a little bit different. I've got a lot of faith that those guys will be ready to go. And if they're not, we'll still look out and see if there are guys who could help us. With Ben Johnson's creativity, who knows who will be lined up out there. I thought DeAndre Swift was very decisive in the preseason with getting downhill and getting positive gains. There wasn't as much dancing with negative rushes. So that's good for DeAndre Swift. I'd love to hear that about Ken Walker or RJ Harvey. That would be good. I feel like there's been improvement. And then in that running back room, I think Kyle Monangai has done some really good things too. I know he got dinged up lately with some soft tissue, but he should be fine. His vision, his feel, the physicality that he runs with, and his contact balance should help us big time. And then you get two different styles back there that you got to prep for, which will be good. So other than the fact that he feels good about Roschon Johnson's timeline to return, tell me where the GM of the Chicago Bears gave a shit about Roschon Johnson. So much so, in fact, that at the end he said, there's two different styles in our backfield after having talked about DeAndre Swift and Kyle Monangai. So maybe they've just been absolutely lying to us all summer, right? It's absolutely possible that they've just been straight up lying to us. But the only times they've ever mentioned Roschon Johnson are like, he's hurt, like he's coming back from injury. So like, again, it doesn't mean that like Kyle Monangai is going to be good. It doesn't mean that DeAndre Swift is going to be good. To me, everything that has come out of Chicago has been DeAndre Swift is the lead, the starter. They trust him. They like him. Kyle Monangai is their guy behind DeAndre Swift. What does that mean? People have run with this goal line back thing from Roschon from one training camp practice weeks ago. I'm not saying he won't be the goal line back. I'm just saying there's this pile of evidence over here that we have, and then there's the like two goal line carries in one July training camp practice over here. So do with all that information what you will. I'm reporting the news. This is just wildly untrue. They would have dropped him already if they didn't like him. They don't. Travis Homer's hurt. Like they don't have other running backs. He can be better. Right? That's like saying they would have cut Rashee Ali in Baltimore that we were just talking about. No, he can make the team and not be better. Like every team carries multiple running backs, right? Like it's not that they don't like him. It's that they like him less than the other guys that are there. Just like the Baltimore Ravens like Rashee Ali less than Derrick Henry, Justice Hill, and Keaton Mitchell. That's the point. The point isn't that like they would have just cut him. He's very cheap. and they need insurance at the running back position. You need to have 3 or 4 of them. And Travis Homer, who's a passing down kind of specialist, is on injured reserve. So you need to have these other guys. And so again, do with all that what you will. I don't want to do we just did it, but I don't want to do the Bears and the Cowboys, right? And do these Washington. We do the same backfields over and over and over the course of the summer. So I just wanted to read you what they said, and you can do with it what you will. Cincinnati Bengals. Speaking of fun, yeah, this is also true. Speaking of like fun stories, if you watched the Bengals Monday night game against that was against Washington, which I'm sure everybody watched because the Bill that was amidst the Brian Robinson chaos and the Bill and Chris Rodriguez and all the drama, right, was in that particular game. And Joe Burrow was lobbying for Mitchell Tinsley to make the 53-man roster. And he did. Turns out Joe Burrow's got a little bit of power. Everyone who Joe Burrow wants to get paid gets paid. And everyone who Joe Burrow wants to make the roster makes the roster. So I don't think he actually matters. But, I've made worse 20th round picks in my life than the wide receiver 6 or 5 on the Cincinnati Bengals. I fucking just drafted Jermaine Burton earlier this year. He might be a worse pick than Mitchell Tinsley for all I know. So, like I said, I've made worse picks. I just thought it was a cool story for Mitchell Tinsley. Browns. Okay. This is a little bit of a doozy. We definitely got to take a drink before we wet the beak a little bit before we do the Browns. Okay. Shador is not quarterback 2. They made sure to announce that Dylan Gabriel is the back. Of course, Joe Flacco is QB1. Dylan Gabriel is QB2. Shador will be inactive on game days. They traded Kenny Pickett to the Las Vegas Raiders. I would love to give you some cool Quinshon Judkins updates, but despite whatever, stop looking at random ass Twitter accounts for your news. 32 beat writers. Coach Speak Index is for a different resource, but 32 beat writers, official beats, right? Adam Schefter, these kinds of people, Diana Rossini, right? All those people, listen to those people. Get off the internet and the dregs of the internet and stop looking. I see people keep sharing this like, oh, Quinshon Judkins, right? And like Pro Football Talk is not a reporter. He's engagement farming you by saying Quinshon Judkins could go back to college. And then a day later, Quinshon Judkins has to answer a question about going back to college, and they report that he's not going back to college. There's no update. The Browns have no update. No one has an update. He might be getting signed in the next couple of days. As Braun says, do you think Judkins could get signed in the next period? Do I think he could? Yeah, he absolutely could get signed. He also could not. We don't have any update. I'm not there. I don't have any insight to any of this. The latest that we have is they're in no rush, and they are willing to wait for the NFL investigation to play out before they make a decision on what to do with Quinshon Judkins. The NFL investigation hasn't played out, and they haven't given us an update. No one around the team has given us an update. So it's definitely possible that he could sign. Like, it's absolutely possible. It's also possible that he goes on into the season unsigned. I truly have no idea. I don't know how anyone can have any idea about Quinshon Judkins. They did, notably, because they only had 2 running backs on the original 53, Jerome Ford and Dylan Sampson. They signed our guy, Rocket Sanders. I don't know if he's really our guy, but rookie running back from South Carolina. If you like Rocket Sanders, he's on the Browns. There you go. Congratulations. They also signed Malachi Corley, who was cut by the New York Jets. What a time to be alive, Malachi Corley on the Browns. The Browns are just... They cut Deontay Johnson. I did skip over that one. I should not. In case you missed it, the old Deontay is going to be wide receiver 3 in Cleveland. Hope nobody bought into that one, because nope, he is unemployed. And they signed Malachi Corley. They have 7 wide receivers on the roster right now. I do wonder if one of these guys is a cut candidate if and when they signed Quinshon Judkins, but they have Jerry Jeudy. I just wanted to point this out because I know people have talked about the wide receivers. What this means is draft Harold Fannin, by the way. So let's do the last part first. This means draft Harold Fannin. But Jerry Jeudy, Cedric Tillman, Jamari Thrash, Malachi Corley, Isaiah Bond, DeAndre Carter. Yes, that old return man specialist, DeAndre Carter. And I forget what Larvaden or whatever his name is. I don't remember what his first name is. I should know. But yeah, I think he might get cut. Or DeAndre Carter. I think DeAndre Carter might get cut when Quinshon signs. I was intrigued by Malachi Corley when he came into the NFL as well. So I thought it was notable. Again, he's not going to do shit. He probably sucks, but I thought it was our guy is not. It's not over. It's not over for Rasheen Ali. It's not over for Malachi Corley. It is over for Deontay Johnson. All right, Cowboys. We're going to read you another quote because again, I'm not getting into it. I already just got into it. I said I wasn't going to get into it, and then I got into it. But here's what Brian Schottenheimer just yesterday or 2 days ago about the running backs that we all have gotten ourselves worked up into a tizzy all summer over the Dallas Cowboys running backs. The running backs on this team with this terrible defense that they're going to have to pass a lot, right? Javonte Williams has been a guy that I've been really impressed with from day one. The professionalism and run talent jumps out. Miles Sanders is a veteran player that we've seen do it against us at Philly. Just his ability to stretch the field and the perimeter and do some things from coming out of the backfield is unique. Hunter Lepke is Hunter Lepke. Baller. Sorry. Hunter Lepke is Hunter Lepke. Baller. I'll leave it at that. That's the first fucking time anyone has said that about Hunter Lepke. Baller. Oh shit, man. So good. I could not help but read this. Everyone needed to see this because Brian Schottenheimer said this. And like he didn't say it about one of the rookies. He didn't say it about his starter, Javonte Williams. He said it about Hunter Lepke. Baller. I'll leave it at that. So like honestly, when that was not something I considered when I was drafting Javonte Williams earlier in the year, was that Hunter Lepke is the baller in the room. But on a serious note, like the concern for drafting any of these guys is there's all these little fucking cockroaches all around that just don't die, that suck all the value out of it. Like if you think Jayden Blue is going to be the passing down back when Javonte Williams is one of the best pass protectors in the league on a team that is going to need that a lot. And also Hunter Lepke is this baller, but who also is a great pass protector and a pass catcher out of the backfield. So like I get Jayden Blue can catch passes, but if they're going to be losing and they have this really bad defense, it's hard. It's hard for any of these guys. It's hard for Javonte. It's very hard for Miles Sanders. If like Hunter Lepke is a thing, if they actually they did, Phil Maffa went on injured reserve, but they designated him to return from injured reserve. There's so much shit going on here that like I just don't even know that there's enough fantasy value to suck out of the situation, given it's going to be chopped up between a couple different guys. If you absolutely need like some early season, please God, get me a couple of points to start, which I definitely have teams where that happens. Javonte Williams, I think would be the guy in this backfield to do it for. I understand if you still want to make the big Jayden Blue bet or whatever, but I just wanted to like, this is how they speak about all those guys. So it's important to think about it. Anyway, baller. Baller. I'll leave it at that. Jayden Blue is a guy that we've seen the twitch and the speed and the acceleration. And Phil Maffa is a big, powerful man that's hard to bring down and people bounce off of him. So he talked about all five guys, right? And highlighted all of them. And the one he called baller, I'll leave it at that, is Hunter Lepke. Dude, there's Hunter Lepke is probably Will Shipley next Thursday. Write this down. Will Shipley, Hunter Lepke in showdown on DraftKings. Take it to the bank. That'll get you Saquon, Hurts, CD, whatever. All right, Denver Broncos. Marvin Mims, as you probably saw early in practice this week, tweaked his groin, which was obviously less than ideal. But the expectation is that he will be back at practice on Monday. So I had been drafting Marvin Mims because I've been drafting the shit out of the Broncos wide receivers after the Devon Vele trade. And I think crisis has been averted on Marvin Mims. However, not entirely. The crisis has not entirely been averted because Sean Payton started talking about the passing offense. Maybe it was out of sight, out of mind because Marvin Mims is hurt. But when he talked about the passing offense, he mentioned Courtland Sutton, Pat Bryant, and Troy Franklin. It's Sean Payton. He says a lot of shit. He called Pat Bryant Michael Thomas, right? The next Michael Thomas or whatever. He uses the Joker phrase all the time. He's a walking meme. I just thought it was relevant, especially as someone I'm drafting Troy Franklin on basically on just about every team I can right now. I've been like lukewarm on Pat Bryant, but I think it's possible that I end up very wrong. That I was lukewarm on Pat Bryant and I should have been boiling water on Pat Bryant. And of course, they like Courtland Sutton. Courtland Sutton is Courtland Sutton. Do you think Rocket Sanders is worth a 20th round Hail Mary? Not really. Just depends, I guess. Is he worth a 20th round Hail Mary? Maybe but like, I don't know. Is he better than like some of these other guys that are available in the 20th round? Probably not. I don't know. I can't ever, like, again, a 20th round guy that's a rookie on a team with only Dylan Sampson and Jerome Ford at running back. But like, if Judkins does come back, Rocket probably gets cut. I don't know. It doesn't excite me very much. Detroit Lions, just to continue to talk about Isaac TeSlaa, but I thought it was relevant in both Dan Campbell and what's Holmes? Brad Holmes, the GM. They basically both have said the Tim Patrick trade opens up more opportunity for TeSlaa. He's had a great preseason. Like, we're excited about him, but they also like continue to keep saying, like, you know, he is still a rookie. He's going to have, it's going to be a learning curve. He's going to make mistakes. He's going to have to learn. He's going to, you know, don't expect it like right away. It's like absolutely wheels up, I think, for TeSlaa in our best ball world. But like, I wouldn't go in expecting like he's going to run 80% of the routes in week 1 and get 6 targets. And it's like, I would not, that would not be my expectation. If that happens, awesome. But I don't think that's their expectation in Detroit. Green Bay. Oh boy. This is the one I'm absolutely the least excited to discuss. Jayden Reed has a Jones fracture in his foot. There's a lot. If you want to go to the dregs of the internet and go look up what all the Twitter doctors are saying about Jones fractures, then go for it. There's apparently, I am not a doctor. I also am not a lawyer, but I am a bird law expert. I'm not a doctor, but I do read terrible Twitter doctors just like the rest of us do. And it gives all of us a sense of confidence that we know absolutely something about a situation we should have no confidence about, which is the Jayden Reed situation. I have no idea. You have no idea. I'm not sure the Packers totally know what's going to happen with Jayden Reed. Here's what we know. He has a Jones fracture. There are a variety of different types of Jones fractures, essentially severities that can happen to this. It can be not that big of a deal. It can be a very, very big deal. What is going to happen with Jayden Reed? I have no idea. What I do know is that he's out of a boot and he has returned to practice. They're not saying they're 100% sure on his week 1 availability, as you see here. I'm very hopeful for that, and I think they're trending the right way. But again, we'll see. I believe LaFleur said he was referencing Nate Hobbs, a starting corner for the Packers, and also Jayden Reed. So I don't know. Do with that what you will. I'm also very worried. Like, aren't you worried about Jayden Reed? You bet your ass I'm worried about Jayden Reed. But I'm not like panicking and running to Dontavian Wicks. And part of that is because Christian Watson is on injured reserve, but it looks like he's going to come back when he's ready, like after he sits out. So Matthew Golden, Romeo Doubs, Tucker Kraft, Christian Watson, is Dontavian Wicks better than Malik Heath? We talk about Dontavian Wicks. They talk about Malik Heath and Bo Melton last year. That we don't talk about Malik Heath. He's going to play just as much as Dontavian Wicks is. So I would not be out over my skis on Dontavian Wicks. I think Christian Watson's going to play when he comes back. I think Malik Heath is going to play. I think Wicks will play, but how many targets are there to go around? We just said the team got Micah fucking Parsons on defense. They're going to be pretty solid. They want to run the ball with Josh Jacobs. Like, how many targets are there really to go around for Wicks? And does he just get buried when Watson comes back later? Houston Texans. Boy, I said this would be quick, and it is not quick. Here's a couple more quotes that I like to read the quotes this week. I'm liking to read the quotes this week. This is about Joe Mixon, Houston Texans. We're taking it one day at a time. When Joe is ready to be back, he'll be back. When Joe can play football, he'll play football. Like, just stop drafting Joe Mixon. If you want to draft Nick Chubb, go for it. They did speak highly. Kai says, and Savion is playing too, please. Savion has been hurt with his own injury issues, which is rather concerning for me. He's like a gadgety, weapon of a player. I wish he would have practiced more during camp, but again, he should theoretically play. Yeah, they did speak like Nick Chubb looks better now than he looked before, is what they sort of said. But they did then continue to talk up like they really like Dameon Pierce, they really like Woody Marks. So I'm still not really doing the Nick Chubb stuff, but it's certainly more bullish now than it was before. I'm keeping all of the Wicks smacks. Let's go for it. I don't care. I'm an open book. I'll write you the receipt. All you got to do is ask. Indianapolis Colts. Josh, so you can keep all my receipts if you keep your own receipts and own up to your. This is my stance on all the receipt stuff. Is anyone can I don't care. You can make fun of me. You can make fun of whoever you want, so long as you keep your own receipts and you own your own shit. Because what happens, and so I see it from my side, right, my side of the computer screen here, but like I see it on social media too. All these losers out there, but I see it, right. The YouTube commenters, I get everybody gets it, right. You get the guys who come in and they love to tell you when you're wrong, right. One guy over earlier this summer, Pat, Kareem and I obviously do really deep rookie conversations during the rookie season, in March and stuff, several hours diving into the rookie classes. And I call, and in a 3-hour rookie running backs podcast, I called Cam Scadaboo one of the better running back prospects in this class. And one guy just like goes off on me, right? And then starts in the YouTube comments and starts talking about like, well, you didn't like Brian Thomas Jr. that much. You didn't like this guy. You're an idiot. What do you know? Or whatever. And then never comes back when Cam Scadaboo is one of the better running back and is going at pick. When I said if he goes to the right spot, he's going to be drafted pretty highly in best ball drafts. And then Cam Scadaboo is going at pick 100, right? That guy never comes back. That guy never comes back to talk about, but you were right about Lab McConkey, or you were right about Keon Coleman sucking, or AD Mitchell sucking, or whatever, right? Nobody ever comes back. And then people love to spew their takes. What happens is people love to throw shit at the wall and rip a million takes, right? Toss all the hot takes out there and hopefully hit on one. And then you come back and you go, see, look how smart I am. Everybody praised me because I hit this one thing. It's like, well, did you also keep because you want to keep my receipts. Are you going to keep your own? Because I don't see a lot of people keeping their own receipts. And I'll keep all my receipts, brother. I faded Saquon Barkley last year. I'm a fucking idiot. That was stupid. I was wrong, right? I drafted Trey Lance. I drafted Darrington Evans. I've drafted Evan Hull and Jawar Jordan and Devontae Walker and like endless amounts of mistakes. I hold the receipts, but the only people who don't get to call people out for the receipt stuff are the people who don't keep the receipts on themselves and don't take accountability for their own takes. I'm not saying that that's what you are, but I see it. It's this. We're at the time of year now where it's hot take season. and that people are going to come back right later on. Right? Shit, next week, next Thursday, somebody's going to come back and say, see, right? Jayden Blue, they're down 35, and Jayden Blue catches a touchdown pass. He's playing with the fourth stringers, and people are going to come back and be like, see, I told you it was Jayden Blue season or whatever, right? It's insufferable part of the whole internet and the fake anon tough guys on the internet. Okay, sorry. I know. It's not personal. I wasn't talking to you. Exactly. I was only kidding. All right. Indianapolis Colts. That was not about you, Mules, or anyone else. It was about all the folks out there on the internet who think that they can just be anonymous and call other people out for their shit and not take accountability for their own mistakes, errors, and terrible choices in fantasy football. Just blame the touts that you choose to follow. Indianapolis Colts, Josh Downs, so really positive news overall on like a lot of these wide receivers that have been banged up, really a lot of players that have been banged up that we were like, that have been falling in drafts. Josh Downs. So I guess Jayden Reed didn't get positive news. Can't win them all. Josh Downs, right? Darnell Mooney, Khalil Shakir, all returning to practice. They expect Josh Downs to be ready for week 1. Will he? Nothing is ever a guarantee, right? As Kyle Shanahan once said, we don't even know if he'll be alive on Sunday. That's technically true. They don't know if Josh Downs will technically be available for week 1, but it sounds like he is. So if you like Josh Downs, this has been a nice little spot to buy the dip because he's all good. Jacksonville Jaguars, Travis Hunter, all good, back at practice. It was just a little, got dinged up, and he's good to go for week 1. Liam Cohen, I just thought this was interesting. Maybe a little bit worse for the running backs and a little bit better for Trevor Lawrence. But Liam Cohen he specifically says like that he believes in the tush push, and he called it a tush push like variant. I don't think it's the exact same thing, that the Eagles can do because there's only one Jalen Hurts. But talked about like Trevor Lawrence is a big, strong quarterback that they have, and they want to use something like that in short yardage. So a couple more rushing touchdowns from Trevor Lawrence would be monstrous if this thing comes to fruition. I don't know that it will, but I mean, if you're trying to decide between like Trevor Lawrence and Justin Herbert, right, at a certain pick, I like Justin Herbert too, but they're not gonna tush push with Justin Herbert. If you get that with Trevor Lawrence, it could be the difference between the two. Kansas City Chiefs. I don't think I updated. I don't think there was any real major news. I guess I should say the Rashee stuff. This is from last week. I apologize. I didn't get the updated notes in here. They kept 8 receivers and 4 running backs, including Rashee. So 7 for the first 6 weeks. They have 7 receivers and 4 running backs. And one of the running backs is Rashard Smith, who's like half running back, half wide receiver. They got a lot of bodies here. I don't think a couple of these guys will be active on game days. We'll see what they do with Jason Brownlee and Nico Remigio. Just kind of a weird situation, though. Tyquan makes it. Jalen Royals makes it. Rashard Smith makes it. Eli Mitchell does make the team. We'll see. I think we got to wait and see who's going to be active on game days amongst all of these guys because I don't have a lot of confidence. Jalen Royals, they think, again, is going to be fine, but has not yet returned to practice with his knee tendonitis. The Raiders, I mentioned crickets on Jakobi Meyers. They did sign Amari Cooper. Again, you'll have to forgive me if I'm not running to the podium to draft Amari fucking Cooper in 2025 as a backup on the mediocre Las Vegas Raiders. He couldn't do it on the Buffalo Bills when the Buffalo Bills needed him so desperately to be a thing. So no thank you for Amari Cooper. And they did trade for Kenny Pickett. Aiden O'Connell got hurt and is out for an extended stretch, and they needed a backup quarterback, so they traded for Kenny Pickett. The Chargers, Najee returns to practice, and there was definitely some potential for great jokes here, but they said they're playing it by ear. I think it's the wrong portion of the face that they're talking about, but They're playing it more by an eye, but we'll see about week one. I would be shocked, actually, I think, if he's out there and playing on week one. And I don't think you want to make a guy active who doesn't play special teams, who you're not sure is ready to go for week one, but he'll be back. I'm still not drafting Najee Harris personally. Trey Harris has not returned to practice. He's working on the side, and Quentin Johnston is still in the concussion protocol. Exactly. Those Royals and Trey Harris bags are feeling heavy. I'm not worried about Jalen Royals. I am very worried about Trey Harris. The Trey Harris bags, we just tossed them in the ocean, and if they rise up at a certain point or someone takes a submarine down to go get the treasure later, that's cool. But we tossed him overboard. I'm still cool with Jalen Royals, I think. But we'll see. Again, we'll see. He could be inactive on game day for all I know. I don't have a really strong take. I've been taking a little more Taekwon right now, just because, and of course, like a little bit more Worthy, whatever. But I'm not worried about Jalen Royals just yet. Dolphins. Oh, nope, sorry. Rams. With the Rams backfield, sorry, I'll try to rapid fire these a little bit better here down the home stretch. Obviously, the plan is to split those up a little bit and distribute, whether it's the run game or the pass game, making sure people are involved within the scheme. In reference to a question of, do you think you'll give Jarquez and Corum some touches to ease the burden on Kyren Williams? And they've said this a lot, and so I'll believe it when I see it. But there have been more rumblings this summer about giving Hunter and Corum a little bit more work from Kyren Williams. He's not going to lose, right? They trust him in pass protection and all that kind of stuff. He's probably not going to lose goal line touches. But in between the 20s, do they give a couple more? I feel it's a little more possible this year than I felt in previous years, is all. Matthew Stafford, also good to go. They always make sure to say, but assuming he doesn't have a setback, he's good to go for week one. Like, no shit. If he has a setback, of course, that would change the conversation. Jalen Wright for the Miami Dolphins had surgery. Mike McDaniels called it a Mike McDaniel, right? September-ish return, which that's never very fun. It's not season ending. He's not done for the year, but it's also not going to be quick. So like late September, early October, probably something like that for Jalen Wright. So really good runway for Ollie Gordon to cement himself as the RB2 and potentially goal line back for the Miami Dolphins. I did the Waller thing. They're Joel Embiiding Darren Waller. He's ramping up. All indications are also that Devon Achane will be ready for week one. So no current concerns about Achane. The Vikings, of course, traded for Adam Thielen, and the smoke that let us know that there was the fire. Lucky Jackson, who had been literally operating as the wide receiver 2 for all of training camp and in the preseason, got cut. Got cut. Oh, Lucky Jackson. A T-Law tush push would make me happy. Same. The T-Law bags will take it. In New England, Stephon Diggs is ready to go for week one. He did not play in the preseason, but absolutely no concerns. Good to go week one. New Orleans Saints, of course, as we mentioned the other day, Spencer Rattler is QB1, and Taysom Hill and Foster Moreau remain on the PUP list, so they will not be back anytime soon. If you need, like we're talking about the Darren Waller thing, like just draft Juwan. Juwan's going to run all the routes for New Orleans Saints. I'm not saying that that's valuable, but is Darren Waller really valuable? I don't think so. The Giants, despite some interesting like quotes and stuff around the quarterback stuff, they've reiterated that Russell Wilson is the starter. New York Jets, we've talked a lot about the three-way committee, and the third member that never gets discussed, including by me, in the backfield is Isaiah Davis, who I think is going to operate as the passing down back. We'll see. He's been out for a little while, and they mentioned, I think Isaiah Davis is on track for week one. That's not the most bullish, but it's also not bearish. So I kind of want to see what goes on with that backfield, but they continue to say they're going to play all three guys. The Eagles, the no real updates for the Eagles. Of course, they traded for John Mechie, and I'm still kind of, it's bugging me, the AJ Brown and Devontae Smith. Like, aren't you worried? No, but I'm annoyed, right? It's like, I'm not worried about AJ Brown and Devontae Smith. I am getting annoyed at the lack of practice and the lack of updates frankly. Nothing really out of Pittsburgh notable. The Caleb Johnson, Kenny Gainwell stuff continues, but that's not a change from anything we've seen. Caleb will have to work his way into a greater role over the season. 49ers, hopeful but not positive on Jawan Jennings for week 1. There was a couple funny quotes on this one too. He asked to be traded, but that was a long time ago, and we've moved on from that. Like, what? Didn't San Francisco say that it was bullshit? The trade request was bullshit. So, like, I'm done believing anything Kyle Shanahan says, to be quite honest. I'm pretty sure that they said that the trade request was like fabricated by the media essentially earlier this summer. And then now they just said he asked to be traded, but it was a long time ago. Like, we've all moved on. So it's really just about the calf. And I'm like, is it? Because didn't you say it? What? I don't know. But it's Jawan's progressing. We'll see about week 1. We'll see about week 1. They cut Jeff Wilson and Jordan James returned to practice. Brian Robinson still RB2 in San Francisco. They made that really clear since acquiring Brian Robinson. The Seattle Seahawks, if you drafted MVS thinking he was going to be wide receiver 3 for Seattle, nope. He actually just signed with the 49ers practice squad. Woof. Tough scenes for Marquez Valdez-Scantling and anyone with bags of that guy. Torrey Horton is wide receiver 3. A recent report just came out that's essentially why they cut MVS, right? Was because Torrey Horton was awesome and he returned to practice. So no concern. I think it was Ion asked about Horton versus Coker. I still prefer Horton to Coker, but I have them and it's Horton, Coker, Leggett, Bryant, Franklin. I'm sure I'm forgetting Io Manor, all those guys like in one big tier. Like, take all those guys, move their rankings ahead of where their ADP goes, and get exposure to those guys because they're all awesome fucking clicks. There you go. King Cochler. I know that typo is pretty good. Tampa Bay. This is why we need off-season injury reporting that's like mandatory. Luckily, I didn't get too deep into the bag on Cade Otton, but after all the Jalen McMillan, Godwin, etc., Rashad White injuries, Otton looked like a pretty good, at least early season bet. But Cade Otton is now out for a little while. They weren't very precise on it. We don't know what his regular season status, week 1 status is going to be because they don't know. They said that they don't know what he's going to look like for the regular season, but he's out a little bit was their quote, and he has a leg and then a hamstring injury. I'm pretty sure a hamstring is a part of the leg, so I don't know what a fucking leg injury means, but it doesn't. That's not great. Doesn't sound great. He doesn't seem to be like it's super serious, but he also doesn't seem healthy. Cade Otton is definitely not healthy, so I'm pausing on Cade Otton right now. Sean Tucker will be back at practice next week. So if you're drafting him, no worries. And neither of Chris Godwin or Tristan Wirfs went on injured reserve. They both passed their physicals just recently. I don't think this changes anything. I don't think they're playing week 1 and probably not even week 2. But I think it's just a generally positive development that Godwin will be back sooner rather than later. And Tristan Wirfs, one of the best tackles in all of football. It's like the opposite of the Falcons. They're getting back their superstar tackle, which is really important to their offense. And the Falcons are losing it. So just really, really positive news other than obviously Cade Otton and Jalen McMillan's injuries. All else equal, it's generally positive for the Tampa Bay Bucks. That's how important Tristan Wirfs is, I think. The Titans kind of like Julius Chestnut and kind of keep saying that Khalil Mullings has a lot of work to do to get better. So they're going to, as you would expect, they're going to lean on Tony Pollard until Tyjae Spears gets back, though. The matchups are not awesome to start the season. So I'm not quite as jazzed up about Tony Pollard as I think everybody else is, though the volume is definitely going to be there. And then Washington, let me make sure and pull up a quote here because I thought it was important as we all, get out over our skis over Bill. And I get it. I still think Bill is a good pick. Say it 3 times. The genie pops out and everybody tells you about how awesome Jacory Krosky-Merritt's going to be. But Terry McLaurin and Noah Brown are like close, but they don't know if they're going to play week 1 just yet. Of course, Terry missed a lot of time this offseason, and so has Noah Brown missed a lot of time this offseason. So we'll kind of wait and see next week to hear about their week 1 status, but they'll be back sooner rather than later. And then I just want to say Dan Quinn on Chris Rodriguez's evolution in Washington. Consistent. He's demonstrated he's willing to put the work in, and not just the physical skill, but mentally and on special teams. He's a player that this team really trusts. I like his fight and that he really worked hard to change his body. So they didn't come out and talk about Bill. They do continue to talk about Chris Rodriguez. What I want to continue to reiterate is the reason why Brian Robinson is gone is because it made smart, good business sense to get rid of Brian Robinson, because Bill and Chris Rodriguez can replace easily what Brian Robinson was doing. Austin Eckler and Jeremy McNichols have nothing to do with Brian Robinson. And the whole, like, we like our replacements is they like all of the replacements. I think people have taken it as they only like this one replacement. And we're all excited for the young rookie. Definitely. I am too. I like him. He's a good click. But I think it's more of a, he's going to have to like steal this job still over the course of the season. And what does that mean? That means, well, he has contingent value, but so does the other guy in the backfield as well, or other guys in the backfield have contingent value. So really no changes on Washington. No news on Ayuk. No, they're not. Shanahan talked about Ayuk as like, he's not worrying about, he's in the group of week 6 guys. He said, those are my week 6 guys, meaning I'm not going to even worry about those guys until partway into the season or whatever. We are going to hop in over here on Drafters into the main event, pop in a draft, and then of course a giveaway at the end of this show. We'll give away 3 free tickets for the final time this year, the final 3 winners. If you are watching right now, I see you guys watching. If you could please hit that thumbs up while we're waiting for this draft to load. It's super helpful for these news shows in particular to get out there, people to see all the different, views into all this stuff that's happening. And of course, then they can hear my rant about these fake tough guys and their receipts on the internet as well. Will you be doing these news type shows during the season? Not necessarily, not really, but so my general plan, and I'm going to get this out this afternoon, so check social media and the Discord. My general plan of attack is to continue to have shows, but they'll be like, so Tuesday will be like a recap and look ahead to so like, after on Tuesday of week 2, we'll kind of walk through what happened in week 1, what that means for our best ball teams, what that means for, upcoming DFS. What does that mean for some early sports betting looks? Just like a general news and notes kind of Tuesday show, but with an eye on what just happened and an eye on the week to come. And then we'll be having some specific, like, focused shows with the plan is to make one closer to end of week, like members only sort of show. Yes. Thank you, Bernie. Perfect. Influencer 101, by the way, here for me. If you're looking to if you've already signed up if you've never signed up on Drafters and you never played on Drafters, this time of year is the perfect time to do it. You can use code SPIKE to get 100% deposit bonus up to $100. So you deposit $100, you will get $100 from Drafters for free if you use code SPIKE if you've never played on there before. If you have played on there before, we also got a special new reload code for you from our good friends over at Drafters. If you use SPIKE reload 20, when you deposit, they'll give you a 20% deposit match up to $200. So you can deposit all the way up to $1,000, right? And they'll give you $200 for free. You can deposit $100 and they'll give you $20 for free if you use SPIKE reload 20. Mules likes the Isaiah Davis stuff. Let's move. Yeah, let's move here. Do we want Rattler as a third QB? Not for me personally. If we were drafting Tyler Shuck with the thoughts he was the starter, why is Rattler going undrafted? What I would say is we, right? Insert a Fresh Prince, Uncle Phil GIF. We were not drafting Tyler Shuck. People were drafting Tyler Shuck. We were not drafting Tyler Shuck. So no, we are not drafting Spencer Rattler either. Cody, isn't this the same foot injury that zapped Travis Etienne? You know, I don't know. I don't remember. It's been a while. I have to look it up. It's a good question. Epic rant. Sorry, I couldn't help myself. We're in that time of season. There's also somebody victory lapping, as all you guys know, victory lapping Jalen Coker this morning that just had my me on the like, God damn it, we're at this time of year, right? It's about to come. Just a wait, like the season is just an endless wave of look at my hot take that was right. Everyone come look at me. Please don't look behind the curtain where all the terrible, terrible fucking takes were. Don't look back there. Don't look at the fact that I was drafting Tyler Shuck. Don't look at the fact that I was drafting whoever. Don't look at that. Come look at this one thing I got right. Right? And oh, you thought that? Ha! You thought that? What an idiot. Receipts. Fuck out of here. Probably behind it's definitely a picture of their car, right? Their avatar is like a picture of their car. Or I love dogs, but it's a lot of dogs. Dogs are like, my favorite thing on the planet, but it's definitely a lot of dogs in that, or an NFT. We said draft Trey McBride, right? So let's draft Trey McBride. And Lamar. Always some obscure NFT that they paid a bunch of money for that isn't worth anything anymore. I got into dude. There was dark times. I got into the Top Shot stuff. Luckily, one of my greatest accomplishments in life is falling full head over heels, just like everybody else did for the full Top Shot stuff. I'm sitting there, in the pandemic, day trading NBA Top Shots like everybody else is. Foolishly, just so stupid. Could have made a lot of money. Made money. Shout out to Bales. The moment Bales posted the article about NBA Top Shot, I got in, right? Spent a bunch of money. And it was like, it was like being early to Bitcoin. An idiot could make money, and I am an idiot, and I made money, right? But as it just got so out of hand, I eventually was just like, this feels very much like a bubble that is soon to burst. Like, this feels like the fucking Beanie Babies. It felt very like the Top Shot specifically. NFT technology is fine, but the market as a whole felt like this bubble is about to burst at any moment. And so I got out, not at the top, but close, like fairly close. So I was that was one of my best accomplishments. Now, don't ask me about some other NFTs that I own that are truly worthless, but it is always the NFT avatars that think that they know everything. And they're never wrong, and will never admit that they're wrong. And you know how I know they'll never admit that they're wrong? Because they have a useless avatar that they were wrong about, and they still use it. It's okay. I'm telling you, we can all make fun of ourselves if we're willing to call out that's the point. You call out receipts on me, please, by all means, so long as we can, we got to be able to, that's what friends do. We make fun of each other. We joke, we have fun, but you love each other afterwards. But the internet strangers no, thank you. I will look it up. I do like E40. Tell me when to go. I hate I do kind of hate the inflection of his voice sometimes, though. Tell me when to go. Tell me when to go. My DK avatar is my Rainmaker's troll, worn like a badge of shame, making them keep it late for. That's great. That's great. I'm still chasing the Bitcoin dip. Yeah. Don't ask me about don't ask me about some of the times I sold Bitcoin. We're doing all right, but we could be rich. We could be very, very, very rich if I wasn't so dumb. My daughter loved that song. I imagine that is a great song for, like, with the kind of weird voice inflections and the different, he has a funny voice. He sounds like cartoonish, right? E40 sounds like cartoonish, particularly in that song. So I would imagine that's good for kids. Oh boy, I'm on the clock in a bunch of underdog slows. That's not great. All right. Wow. God, the Brees fall is wild. Okay, 50% JMO on these teams. Let's do. I know I like to do zero running back teams with some of the guys that the zero running back bros don't do it with, like a Calvin Ridley. I'm not gonna do Zay on this team. I'm gonna do. I'm trying to get some more Caleb stacks. So let's do DJ Moore. Just do something a little bit different here. I've been actively trying to get more Caleb Williams Bear stacks just because I don't love DJ Moore. I was drafting a little bit more early in the summer, and it's not that I even like honestly dislike DJ Moore. I just like, it's one of those, like, there's all these wide receivers here that I really want to get to and get well overweight on. So he's just been a little bit of a sacrificial lamb. Rome, as Rome has fallen. Yeah, didn't expect to use that phrase today. As Rome has fallen, I've been able to up my exposure to him a little bit. Loveland, I'm like lukewarm on, and I do like Burden, but it's been a little bit of a tricky experience trying to get the Caleb stacks down, and so I've been trying to force it a little bit more. Oh, definitely got to respect his longevity. 100%. One hour slow clock is killing me. Yeah. I'm almost through. I'm almost through the pain. not too much longer. Really, I would imagine today for the most part. And I just got to get all my like cues and stuff set up. That's all you really got to do is make it through a certain portion of the draft and then figure out, like, so I hate relying upon rankings, like specifically rankings, just because it's kind of different for each team what I want to have on there. That's why I don't really like to use it's funny because everybody loves rankings, but one of the things that I think are like truly the most overrated thing in like this whole little best ball universe that we live in is rankings. I think that they have value for showing you like just generally how you or someone else values individual players relative to each other. But like from a functional standpoint, even and then like you have things like the sidekick and stuff on leg up, but that's based on their that's based on like the formula that they've decided is the most important for, right? If it's looking at the players that you've drafted, but it doesn't know your portfolio. And it also is accounting for rankings and the inputs from that team. Is an awesome tool. Shout out to Pat and everything that they've done over there. But it's not necessarily using the process that I want to use when I'm coming on the clock. And then it's also not using the process for like, right? So the first quarter drafts or the eliminator drafts it's just a little bit different. And I want to be able to pull different levers and pull different strings when I'm on the clock in all these different drafts. So, but then once you get to a certain point, You can just load up the queue and who cares? You're all good. I'm down for some Isaiah Pacheco RB1 on this team. That's fun. Wow. Okay. I mean, this is a pretty good Rashee price. Ay, guys. Yeah. Well, sure. Let's do it. Now I'm going to have that goddamn song stuck in my head. You sons of bitches. I'm terrible at this. My wife would tell you if they're like a jingle, like I can't like listen to I have to like take my focus and attention elsewhere when like commercials, you get all the stupid jingles, or just watching the movie and there's a song. So I think I said this yesterday that I had Austin Powers on, the original Austin Powers on in the background when I was working earlier this week, and they have the Secret Agent Man song was going on, the Secret Agent Man, and that was stuck in my head for days. Now it's going to be stuck in my head again, just like this E40 song. It's insane how it doesn't have to be a real song. You like fucking Ozempic or whatever, one of the jingles from one of the medicine pharmaceutical companies. Like I'll get that stuck in my head for days if I sit there and listen to it. So now E40 will be definitely stuck in my head the rest of the day today. Which there's worse things. Yeah, this one, AutoZone, that's a good one. There's many others, I'm sure. What's it? I got places to go and I'm feeling free. Something means everything to me. Something like that. I know that all the jingles. I should have been a jingle writer like Charlie Sheen on 2.5 Men. Sky Rizzy. See, I knew somebody would know it. I know I'm not the only one that this impacts my quality of life. Sky Rizzy fucking jingles. Yeah. Shoot, that's funny. My friend writes, it's also funny that jiggles, but makes a ton of money. I'm sure. That would be well. We always say that. Everybody always says, "Man, that would be such a." Now everybody, now these are all going to be stuck in my head because everyone in the chat is now coming with the different jingles. But it is insane. This goddamn camera. But we always talk about like people, because people say this about my job. Like, man, what a fun job that would be. And like it is, of course. I'm not, this is not me complaining. It's an awesome job. I'm blessed, right? But like what you find is that everybody ends up finding the like things that annoy them about their job. You all have things that, and like, yeah, I get to talk about fantasy football and all that kind of stuff, but you're still running a company. You still have to do all the logistical stuff, finance and accounting and HR and marketing and, all the bullshit that everybody else has to do. It's just a little different in different areas. And that's, you have a boss. I mean, I don't, but like you have a boss and stuff at most jobs. So we always think like, oh my God, your job sounds so cool. And it's like, yeah, they probably still complain about their job. Yeah. Do the dollop with Daisy always gets me 100. Feel free to put your favorite jingle in the chat. Nothing is everything. Yep. Lounge version is great. We got lounge versions. 1-800 cars for kids. 8877 cars for kids. Donate your car today. Come for the fantasy new Tyrone Tracy. That's fun. What pick is this? Okay. If I wanted to do Caleb, I gotta. Yeah, I think I gotta do Caleb. Sorry, I'm sorry to the Bill folks, but Tyrone Tracy needs to be on this team, and I said I wanted to make this a Caleb Williams team, and it needs to be done here at this pick because his ADP's on the opposite side of the board, right? His ADP's on the side of the board with Roma Dunze, as opposed to this side of the board with DJ Moore. Cars for Kids, proven scam. Least surprising thing ever. I haven't paid attention or looked into it, but I trust you. And that is the least surprising thing I've heard yet this morning. Music in movies, video games, commercials, etc. Did you know they give awards for that? There's awards for everything. I mean, yesterday we got into, like stuff we used to watch on HBO, and there's AVNs and awards for just about anything nowadays. But it's fascinating. I'm always fascinated by those different, like we're talking about all these jingles. There's a million jingles on all these different commercials, and like you said, in video games and all this different stuff, that there's things that have to be done from a music like jingle perspective and a jingle perspective. Jesus Christ. But like, then you're like, wait, so like there's people out there doing that, like sitting, like I'm sitting here, they think the same about me, right? They're like, you're sitting there working, about to be 2 hours of talking about fantasy football and drafting fantasy football teams and talking to your computer screen. That seems crazy. But then to me, it's crazy to be like, they're writing jingles for video games and making bank. That's insane. Like, what are they doing right now? Like right now, like these are not normal 9 to 5 office jobs. You clock in, you got your morning stand up, and then you got status checks and whatever, all hands, and you got all these different meetings all day long, right? I've been the guy that from 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. your calendar's all blocked off. Some of the meetings are bullshit. This is one that you can skip. This is one you got to go to. This is, you got to do a presentation at this one, whatever. Like, some people live, that life. And then some people live like they wake up and they write fucking jingles, and others wake up and they draft fantasy football teams. GM Marie, we'll see if Marie wins ticket number 4 today. I think the people would be upset and think that this is a scam. Speaking of scams, if Marie wins today, but I assure you, I don't know Marie. I don't know anyone who's won multiple times. Maybe if I can't help it that Marie comments on the videos and gets entered the appropriate amount of times, and the wheel decides that these people are going to win. But that's what we're in round 10 now of this draft. As soon as we finish this draft, I got everybody's comments loaded here onto the wheel. Well, I got them in my spreadsheet. We'll toss them on the wheel and give away 3 free tickets. And you guys can use those free tickets over this holiday weekend to crush some drafts and chase some overlay here on Drafters. I'm really mad that these songs are already very stuck in my head. Very. That's funny. The world is a crazy place. The folks in the comments, it's been a lot of like Dylan Sampson week, Dylan Sampson month, if you will, on Spike Week, and I think it's spreading. So it's just something, as I sat here and thought about it, that I should not have mentioned it until I got on the clock. But I think the hype is starting to spread a little bit more quickly than it was in prior weeks. Did someone mention a drawing? There is a drawing. A wheel spin, as a matter of fact, in about 20 minutes or so. Niori, just finished my first fantasy draft. I love it. How did it go? Welcome. This is my 106th into this tournament and about 1,300th overall. 1,300. I can't believe. I actually don't know what number I'm at. Let's see. I can look it up though. One would think you would know. Okay. Oh, Bateman, son of a bitch. Okay. I know I need to go get Sampson here, so let's go get Dylan Sampson. Do I do the stack with Burden? I don't have the Lamar stack, so I'm gonna save. I'm gonna do Likely and Co. So let's do Burden. I'll do Burden here. Just give me the Caleb double. I'm actually fairly okay with Isaiah Pacheco, Tyron Tracy, and Dylan Sampson to start at running back. I know that may seem crazy to some, but I actually feel pretty confident in early season production out of those guys. So I'm not like in a panic to go get running back production. And obviously the wide receiver room, Jamar Chase, Calvin Ridley, DJ Moore, Rashee Rice, Luther Burden. I'm going to need a bunch of wide receivers to cover Rashee and Burden here for sure. JG Wentworth? JG Wentworth? Yeah. Yeah, Toshi. Oh God. These are I'm literally gonna have all of these in my brain for the rest of the day. Yeah. As soon as you say Nate Dogg, I think regulators. Wow, Josh Allen and Travion Henderson at the 3-4 turn. Hell yes. You are in the right place. Sign me up for that one. How far are you willing to go in 0 RB drafts with 1 RB? Farther than the average person is. I do still generally prefer something like this where I have some pretty solid roles for early season production. Pacheco, a Tracy, who am I missing? A Pollard's a little bit more pricey now, but RJ Harvey, right? I prefer that kind of a start at running back, but I also think it's pretty fun to wade even deeper into like literally start with Sampson or start with Tank Bigsby or start with something like that and just hammer, like take 9 of them. Right now, this would require make sure you've mapped it all out. You're good at quarterback. You're good at tight end. You're good at receiver, right? On those teams, you probably don't want to draft Rashee. Maybe not Addison. Addison's debatable, but probably not Rashee Rice, like on one of those like super extreme 0 running back teams, because you only have so many guys missing a high value, high draft capital wide receiver. Not great if I only have like say 7 of them, like a 2-9. I have 2-9-7-2 teams on drafters where I wait till double digit rounds to draft my first running back, but I need all I can get at the running back position. I've got my quarterbacks that I'm banking on. I've got my, say I got Trey McBride and I got Lamar Jackson and I got a bunch of awesome wide receivers. Now let's just hammer the shit out of the running back position. Yeah, I lied. 1207 before, so that's about 1210. So we'll I got to do, what number is this? Drafters 106. So I got to do 44. So that'll get me to 1250. I got to do, let's call it, I'll finish at 1300. We'll close the summer at about 1300 drafts in total. Down from 15 last year. We got to about 15, but I feel better, honestly. I feel sane. I wasn't able to max the college football tournaments on Underdog, so that's a little disappointing. I got to 130 on there, so that's been part of it. And I also want to save some of my energy, of course, for the season, and I want to save some of my energy for NBA is about to come into our lives. I want to do some NHL. I want to do some MLB playoffs. I want to do some more of the other sports and stuff. There's going to be in season. Right. If Underdog did weeks 1 to 4, first quarter, one would naturally think they'll also do second quarter. And I want to save some bullets and some energy for those tournaments. So just a little bit lighter on the preseason stuff than before. No, I don't get site credits from DraftKings. I don't operate in site credits. This is none of this. There's no site credits involved here. No site credits here, my friend. Okay, I mentioned. I know I very much could have taken Ollie right there, and it's possible that I should have, but I'm trying to get your weight up to some of these wide receivers, taking Pat Bryant and Jalen Coker, so that I can, if I want to, at pick 168 and 169, get another receiver or two that I like there. That's amongst that group that I mentioned before: Franklin, Bryant, Coker, Leggett, Io Manor, Horton. Yeah, that's probably the main cohort right there. But that group of wide receivers, I think you can start pulling all of those guys up. Yeah, to round 12, round 11. Like, someone explain to me the difference right now of Josh Palmer and like Jalen Coker. One's on the Bills. That's the difference, right? Romeo Doubs, Hollywood Brown and Romeo Doubs versus Jalen Coker and Troy Franklin, Torrey Horton. They're all ancillary wide receivers. Some of them are like Jalen Coker, like Torrey Horton, like Troy Franklin. Young, first year, second year players, which are the kind of guys that can ascend. Romeo Doubs is like fine. Like, you're getting something fine. You're not getting nothing. I think he's a fine pick, but he's not like transcending into superstardom or whatever. So you're banking on getting routes and getting some fantasy points. So Coker or Franklin in a vacuum. I still prefer Troy Franklin, but it's very close. It's very, very close. I'm a Troy Franklin slappy. I just thought Troy Franklin is a little bit better prospect to me than Jalen Coker. The NFL agreed. Doesn't mean he's a better player. Obviously, Jalen Coker had the better rookie season. But I think that if one of these guys just like absolutely goes nuclear this week, this also could be this week. This year, I would bet more on it being Troy Franklin than it being Jalen Coker. Just my initial gut take. Horton over Franklin. Yeah, I do still think I have Horton over all of these guys, but again, it's one tier. So I'm cheating a little bit. I think I have Horton at the front of it in the rankings. I'll have to double check. The problem with, again, the rankings thing is you try to put it as like this is the order I would put some guys in, and then you also do try to build it in to help the people. Like, Horton had been the guy who was falling a little bit because he was hurt. He had the Q tag and stuff. So as you see here, like, I'm actually drafting Horton after the Cokers and the Legetts and what have you. But I think it would be Horton, Franklin, Coker, Bryant, Leggett, Io Manor. In that order, probably, for me. But again, we're splitting hairs. If you wanted to move a guy around, it's that. I have Io Manor, but I would put him at the back of that tier. But I would put him in there, if that makes sense. But like what's that, six or seven guys? That little pocket of wide receivers is like, that's like one of the main reasons to draft right now, I think. Like, Dylan Sampson and those guys are like some of the main reasons to even get into drafts. Just in my humble opinion. God, I can't wait till Will Shipley scores a touchdown next week. It's going to be so fun. It's going to be so fun. You are a true savage doing 555s on stream. I'm too much of a coward. Got to do them on slows. Yep. When you draft this many teams over the years, it's oh, look at that. Okay, see, Leggett and Horton. Okay, let's look at running back real quick. So let's do Keaton. Now, do I do Leggett? I just have like so little Xavier Leggett. Let's do that. Build the little Panthers secondary stack there. Add on Keaton, of course, as you mentioned, goes with Lamar. If I'm not going to have, which, it's still possible I get the tight end. Still possible that I get a tight end to pair with Lamar. But if I'm not going to, I would like to get Keaton on that team just as a Lamar, please throw him a screen pass that he takes 80 yards to the house as my correlation. Or if something were to happen to Derrick Henry, I think it's good for all parties. Dude, the jingles, Sizzle says Curb did a whole episode on the JG Wentworth song. Like, of course, because it's Curb and that's what they do. But you could absolutely do, like, we could go on for this whole damn show over like the silly jingles and that is the content that keeps on giving. Why is that still a thing, by the way? Is there anyone? I know our good friend Vadim in the Spike Week Discord is our like resident psychologist. We need a psychologist to tell us why does this exist? How did jingles get started? Why are they so effective? What is it about? What is exactly? Oh, Riley. What is it about the jingle that is such an effective marketing tactic? Because you notice, like, it's very prevalent and it's very random. The pharmaceutical companies all have one, right? If you have a new drug, you got to get a new jingle, and you got to get the, bright and shiny dancer walking through the grocery store, right? You got to get somebody. They're always at the fucking grocery store or like on the bus or whatever, and they're singing and dancing about, they got places to go. They're feeling free. But what is it? What is it about the jingle? But then, like, there's how come there's no jingles for like perfume and cologne? The perfume and cologne is always like, this like super serious and like, oh, you gotta try this. The ladies will love you. And like, so fucking. That doesn't feel effective to me. I can never remember a cologne or a perfume ad, but I'll remember all the jingles every single time. Why doesn't everyone use jingles? Why don't we? I think that's it. It's been decided. We have to get jingles for the new intro. We have to get new jingles for the new get jingles for new intro music for 2025. Oh, this is 100%. I would not be great in any commercial. That is for sure. Yes. God damn, that's good. Nobody tell him. Break me off a piece of that. Break me off a piece of that. Dot, dot, dot. There's Bernie never thought that his next task as a Spike Weeker was going to be coming up with a jingle. But here we are. Oh God. As I said, I think yesterday, when we were talking about, we keep talking about practice squad players, right? Like Audric Estime, Marquez Valdez-Scantling, like these other guys that are just on goddamn practice squads. And we're like, how do we think this affects Phil Shipley? Do you think MVS can be a thing? Like, it's like, no, because they're on practice squads. They're not even on the team. that is when it's time. I think we need the games to start. When we start talking about jingles, I'm pretty certain that means it's time to start the goddamn games. Call me crazy. Damn, Fanning goes. Oh, no, that's fine. Let's see if Steven. But okay, good. There's so we got the likely thing, so that's nice. I don't know that I can do. I would really like to get Malik though on this team. Okay, I'm definitely going to take likely. I got to decide if I feel as though I could make this a 7 running back team or it needs to be 8. You know what? I don't got enough of Malik on this kind of stuff. Let's do it, and then I can just rip some running backs to close here. I think Tajay would be fine on this team, honestly. That way I can queue it up. I got places to go and I'm feeling free. I'm so not happy how this show has gone. With we can put the Rams guys in the queue, sure. Get my guy Chris Brooks in the queue. Where's Isaiah Davis? The backstop of all backstops. Isaiah. Ooh. The backstop of all backstops. This is along those same lines. The bell noise when you order Taco Bell through their app is top notch. The drafters sound is forever ingrained in my brain of when you're on the clock. That is for sure. There's got to be some other ones like that, which reminds me of the speaking of The Office, like Dorito was mentioning when Dwight. This is like one of the most epic. Jim pulls the most epic pranks on Dwight, right? It's like the best part of the show where he shuts down his computer and then gives Dwight an Altoid every single time for months afterwards, only to build up to the time when he shuts down his computer and he doesn't give him an Altoid, and Dwight's mouth gets all, my mouth's dry all of a sudden. Like that is like such an absolute waste of time, but also the best use of time I've ever seen in my entire life. That's what this kind of stuff reminds me of. Is the Thursday night game even going to be exciting? The starters will get rested the entire second half. The Thursday night game is going to be exciting if you have Will Shipley bags, because he's going to be playing the whole second half because the Cowboys suck ass. Erik has Noel been terrible. Jaylen Noel, by the way. Yes, it is pronounced Noel, not Noel. The first Noel. Jaylen Noel been terrible so far, just buried on the depth chart. Just buried on the depth chart. I don't think he's been terrible. He's just behind Christian Kirk. And of course, Nico Collins. And so as it stands at this exact moment, Xavier Hutchinson has been with the ones over Jaden Higgins. So I don't know that is going to continue, but nonetheless, it is something to keep in mind. Same for Jack Besh. Yeah, Besh just behind, of course, Dante Thornton, Jakobi Meyers, and currently Trey Tucker, which doesn't feel great for Jack Besh. I think if we're comparing the two in terms of like have they had a bad camp or just behind some other guys, I would say Besh more falls into a little bit from column A and a little bit from column B, where I don't think he's particularly impressed in camp, but also he is just behind some other guys who've just performed a little bit better. I don't think it's over for Jack Besh, but I don't think that it's not a great start, certainly. Thank you for letting me take Jatavian Sanders and Harold Fannin last night. I don't even remember. Was it here on Drafters? I know I did a late night draft, and I did I think like a more of a early running back team. We're definitely going to do Justice Hill. And I'm going to wait. What's this 0? I don't have Sean Tucker on. I don't have Sean Tucker on an Isaiah Pacheco team. That seems stupid. What's up with that? Let's rectify that, I guess. Sean Tucker. Sean Tucker is the level of like, what do you win when you win type pick that this team probably needs. I've built in, Dameon Pierce is completely fine and a good pick, and I'm drafting him because I think he is going to split some of the work with Nick Chubb, and like Nick Chubb, not exactly a picture of health. You can get a starting Texans running back for cheaper, which is great. But I think the like Sean Tucker of like, we'd rather have what could be a Bucs running back. Smack if something happens to Rashad again, something happens to Bucky. I think the win condition for Sean Tucker, the ceiling on a week-to-week basis, is just a little bit better. But I'm definitely splitting hairs a bit. But I kind of have the right part of the Dameon Pierce perk is like you probably get some early season production, or you're hoping to get some early season production. That's the hope. I kind of have that early season production, right? With Pacheco, Tracy, and Sampson. That is my early season production. Theoretically, Keaton Mitchell and Justice Hill could give like the whole goal. I've stacked them with Lamar that they could or should give some early season production on this team. I kind of need we also need some home run swings here. This is definitely a spike week draft. Chris Brooks going in the 19th round. Kendre Miller, Dameon Pierce. It's crazy we had to learn how to walk. What did I miss? Or pass whatever you're having over there, over this way, Goat Huddle. I mean, it is crazy we had to learn how to walk. That's true. I just didn't know that was like, what did I say something that had to do with it's crazy we had to learn how to walk? Feels like White could also be a trade candidate if injuries happen for contending teams. That's probably possible. Though I think on the scale of running back trade candidates, he's lower on the list. And we always talk about like this running back's a trade candidate. And like we list off like 15 running backs, but there need to be suitors for these types of situations. And there's always just more supply than there is demand at the running back position, certainly to give up assets. Nobody wants to it's not that teams don't necessarily want these guys, it's that you don't want to give up assets to acquire just replacement level running backs. Yeah, no, and write and read and talk. Just a random thought. It is definitely crazy. It is definitely crazy. Not what I expected to be discussing this morning. But that being said, I didn't expect to be discussing jingles and receipts and all that kind of stuff either. So good morning, Mac. Dude, please do not apologize for being late to a 9 a.m. Best Ball draft stream on a holiday weekend, nonetheless. But as we head in here to a few picks away from round 20, if you are watching right now still, if you could please take 2 seconds, hit the thumbs up button. It's exceptionally helpful. If you're on mobile, you just got to move the chat and click the thumbs up button. Do that before we finish the draft here. I'll run down the team super quickly, and then we will, for the final time before the season starts, give away 3 free tickets to the Drafters main event. If you have not got over on to Drafters, they still got like 60,000, 50 something thousand seats that need to fill in this main event. It's where I'm going to be drafting relentlessly down the home stretch here. You see, I have 44 teams left to draft into this tournament on Drafters, and a couple people will win some free tickets to give away. Or to give away, win some free tickets to give away. I guess technically you could give it away. You'll win some free tickets to enter into this tournament. So your team Brooks over Wilson for Green Bay RB2. Yes, I am. That's just what the Packers have been doing in preseason. So that does not mean that it's goddamn. I said Isaiah Davis was the backstop, and it does appear Isaiah Davis is officially the backstop on this team. Okie dokie, let's do it. All right. We started out. Let's read it. I've been dropping some quality comments. I appreciate all of you for your significant. If I could go out there and shake everyone's hand and give everyone free tickets, I would absolutely do it for all of the comments and all of the likes. It's truly greatly appreciated. It doesn't get said enough. I don't say it enough. No one says it enough. We can't say it enough, but I truly appreciate you guys. And my hope is that we can arrange some form sometime soon, an in-person little weekend somewhere for the Spike Week community. And of course, that would require some travel for some folks, but I would love to meet as many people and thank you guys in person because it's seriously such a fun summer. And it's going to be a really fun season. We're not stopping now just because the season starts next week, but it's just an absolute ton of fun. Don't miss your other picks right now. You're on the clock. Looks like it. Yeah, I know they're slow drafts. I did all my picks right before this show, though I am on the clock in a couple of underdog teams that have about 3 minutes left. But I do appreciate. Thank you for letting me know. Now I'm going to stall because I am going to make a pick over on underdog super quickly. All right, we drafted out of the 101. Easy breezy, beautiful. Exactly. We drafted out of the 101. God damn it. Lamar Jackson, Caleb Williams at quarterback. I mentioned I've been trying to get a little bit more. Caleb pulled Lamar up just for a slightly different blend of the Jamar Chase team because I took Jamar Chase and Trey McBride, which I do very frequently, and as do a lot of people. And I think it's an awesome way to build a team. Isaiah Pacheco built out obviously a 0 running back room, but I quite like this room, to be honest. I certainly wish maybe I could have done something different with the Malik Washington level pick. That's up for debate. So that Isaiah Davis isn't my RB7. But Pacheco, Tracy, Sampson, Keaton, Justice, Sean Tucker, and Isaiah Davis is actually a running back room that I kind of like. So when people are asking about, how sort of risky do you get at the running back position, I definitely get riskier than other people do. And this running back room is a good example of it. Jamar Chase, Calvin Ridley, a lot of week 10 buys. Jamar Chase, Calvin Ridley, DJ Moore, Rashee Rice. Part of why I was like, yeah, let's do Malik Washington because we have Rashee on here. We have Luther Burden. I'm not sure what I'm going to get from Pat Bryant to start the year. And then we have the Carolina stack there, Jalen Coker and Xavier Legette with Malik Washington to close out the wide receiver room. Trey McBride and Isaiah Likely as well here. All right. What this means, my friends, is it's time to pull up the wheel of names. Oh, God, what's the easiest way to remove all of these names? Because now I got to, okay, let's remove all those. Get the new list of everyone that has commented this week. I do very much appreciate you guys. We're going to spin the wheel 3 times. And if you've not joined us before, and if you have not won before, after this is over, I will figure out a way to get you this. These are everyone's YouTube usernames. So if it's not your drafters username, I need your drafters username. I'm going to send it over to the team over at Drafters. They will deposit the free ticket into your account. You'll see the little ticket thing on the website. So Discord is the best place to contact me. The Spike Week Discord is in the description. You can join it for free and come in and tag me and send me your drafters username. If you don't want to do that, you can find me on Twitter or on Blue Sky or text message or carrier pigeon. And I will make sure to get you those your free ticket. But let's go ahead and the final one of the summer. I'm working on trying to find some other form of Roni Baloney. That's definitely a new winner. That's fun. Shout out Roni Baloney 1. Roni Bologna 1 wins ticket number 1. Ticket number 2. Michael Okay, Michael. I don't know how to pronounce your last name. Just like a lot of people don't know how to pronounce mine either. Michael Mickelwraith. Michael Mickelwraith. Ticket number 2. We definitely got some new winners here today. Sorry to Marie and Pac Fan winning all the tickets here today. Oh, here comes Corey again. I think Corey wins again. Corey Lepore. Shout out to all of you guys for all the comments over the summer. I'm working on something that we can do in season, probably more with, like some pick'em credits or something like that. I don't have that yet. Be on the lookout this afternoon for an announcement of the in-season schedule. And I completely forgot to mention this weekend. Rob Coakley, Spike Week Sicko Sundays streamer, is going to be doing a Drafters-a-thon, a marathon draft stream on Drafters for 36 hours tomorrow. He's going to do the longest draft stream in the history of best ball drafts starting tomorrow, and be on the lookout for that here on the YouTube channel. Of course, we will announce that in Discord, on social media, and everywhere else. If you won one of the tickets, of course, please contact me and I will make sure it gets deposited into your account. Have a wonderful weekend. Enjoy the college football. We're working on that. Versailles. I promise we will announce it. Enjoy the beautiful weather. Enjoy the football. Enjoy the drafts, and enjoy the free tickets. And I will see you guys next time. It remains to be seen exactly what the set schedule is. I'm going to try to hop on the marathon, of course. So I'll probably see you guys tomorrow/Sunday very soon. Cheers.
Woo! Those were some spicy takes. Want to stay up to date with all of the other spicy takes we're going to have over here at Spike Week? Why don't you press that subscribe button below? You turn notifications on, we draft a team, boom, you know about it. We have another spicy take, boom, you know about it. You can be there. You can draft with us. You want to stay up to date? That's how you do it. All right, we'll catch you later next time here at Spike Week.